What is poppin' YouTube? Bringing you 5 Dynasty sleepers that you should be targeting before the NFL draft, before things get cemented, before values, depth charts, everything kind of gets messed up. I think there's some really great values out there. First guy we're going to be talking about is Mr. Mikey Boy Williams. Mr. Mike Williams, has been injured the last 2 seasons for the Chargers. Last year only played in 3 games before he got hurt. 16.7 fantasy points per game. The year before that, 13.6 fantasy points per game. The year before that, 15.4 fantasy points per game. He's been the ultimate boom bust type wide receiver. Now the injuries have really started to take effect. My man is 29, will be turning 30 this year. And going on to this Jets offense, I think not enough people are as excited as I am about this offense because there's all the rumors that the Jets are interested in a guy like Brock Bowers in the draft. You still have Garrett Wilson as the clear wide receiver 1 for the New York Jets, but Mike Williams as a clear 2. That's what he's been his whole career. And putting him into an offense where they need playmakers around Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers is not scared to throw the deep ball. If we look at Allen Lazard with Aaron Rodgers, he's purely made a career based on that long ball ability, and Mike Williams is the bigger, better Allen Lazard type comp for me. And so I like Mike Williams landing here in New York. Like I said, right now he's wide receiver 69 overall. So definitely a sleeper who shouldn't be a sleeper. If you look over the last 3 seasons, how far his value has dipped down just based on that age range. I mean, Rashid Shaheed, Demario Douglas, who I like a ton, Roman Wilson, Tyler Lockett, all around Mike Williams, where yeah, you maybe can make the case that Tyler Lockett, he's had better production year after year, but I like Mike Williams as a sleeper in this kind of range. Looking like a 24 early third could be what it could be taking to get Mike Williams onto your team. If we're looking over here on Dynasty Daddy, we got a few different trades of Mike Williams, like Elijah Moore in a third would be a trade that has gotten done. Mike Williams for Ty Chandler in the 207, Mike Williams for a 2025 round 3 pick. Like, he's pretty inexpensive for the ways that I think Mike Williams will actually be able to produce for your Dynasty Fantasy Football squad. I think Mike Williams, he's already proven that he could be a stud. He's gotten kind of pushed down into like the sleeper category. I think you got to be talking about Mike Williams heading into 2024 in this New York Jets offense. My next Dynasty sleeper you should be targeting is Keaton Mitchell. And Keaton Mitchell has gotten overlooked because of the signing of Derrick Henry into this Baltimore Ravens backfield. But if we look at when Keaton Mitchell absolutely burst onto the scene, 20 fantasy points in week 9, 13 fantasy points in week 10, 10 fantasy points in week 12, 10 fantasy points in week 15. My man was absolutely electric with the ball in his hand, where we're talking about a guy that has 4.37 40-yard dash type speed. Now, Derrick Henry coming into this offense is going to be the clear bell cow. So I'm not over here saying, oh my goodness, Keaton Mitchell is going to compete with touches with Derrick Henry. No, I know Derrick Henry is the clear 1A. But the fact of the matter is, when we saw Derrick Henry in this offense last year with the Tennessee Titans, Tajay Spears also had a pretty relevant fantasy football role on third downs. And I think that is exactly where Keaton Mitchell slides into. I know he was undrafted. I know he's 22 years old. So there are the concerns that maybe the Baltimore Ravens address the running back position in the NFL draft. But as we've seen with the Baltimore Ravens in the past, they've needed a lot of guys just based on injury, based on the way that they are so run heavy. 8.4 yards per carry is nothing shabby to be talking about Keaton Mitchell about. I really like Keaton Mitchell as a dynasty sleeper, as somebody that if I'm, needing some RB depth on my team, it's a pretty low cost investment as RB42 on Keep Trade Cut. Guys around him, you got Chuba Hubbard, who I like a ton. You got Austin Eckler, Roshan Johnson, Jerome Ford. I prefer Keaton Mitchell over all of those guys because we know what type of offense he is going to be put in. If we look over here on Dynasty Daddy, like the 305 for Keaton Mitchell and the 409, give me the Keaton Mitchell side. Michael Carter, Zach Moss for Keaton Mitchell, Deontay Foreman. Give me, that's a hard one because everyone knows Zach Moss just got the starting role for Cincinnati, but pretty good on the side of the Keaton Mitchell, Deontay Foreman if you need some more depth. Keaton Mitchell for Ty Chandler, Rico Dowdle, both like backup and running backs there. You got the 305 and the 408 for Keaton Mitchell. So I think there is some value to be had as Keaton Mitchell is a sleeper, as he wasn't a sleeper of someone that a performance, everyone knew him during the season. But I think with the injury, Derrick Henry signing, that's something that we have to take in consideration with Keaton Mitchell being a future stud, because I think he's proven that he has the same type of upside as guys that we really love, like a Devon A-Chain, based on the way that his yards per carry and efficiencies there. Of course, sharing the backfield with Derrick Henry, that man's going to be getting all the touchdowns, going to be getting a lot of the yards. Keaton Mitchell, just like we said, depth's always a key here in Dynasty Fantasy Football. So I absolutely love Keaton Mitchell as my future stud that could potentially be taking over your Dynasty Fantasy Football team. My next guy we're going to be talking about is Wan'Dale Robinson. And Wan'Dale Robinson has had a very interesting fantasy football career up to this point. In 2022, only played in 6 games because he got hurt. In 2023, played in 15 games, 8.8 yards per reception, 8.9 fantasy points per game, was the wide receiver 54, 78 targets, 60 receptions. Now, if we look, he was wide receiver 53 in targets, wide receiver 11 and slot snaps, wide receiver 34 after the catch, wide receiver 39 on reception, and wide receiver 4 on true catch rate, which I think that to me is the most exciting part about Wan'Dale Robinson. When he was actually throwing the ball, he was super successful with actually catching the football. And right now on Keep Trade Cut, wide receiver 72, overall 191. Now we're assuming that the Giants are interested in potentially a wide receiver in this NFL draft, but when we're looking at what's currently happening to this New York Giants offense, it's been obliterated. We have Saquon Barkley signing away. They bring in Devin Singletary, who's just a jag. We got Darren Waller contemplating retirement. You still you got a bunch of slot unnecessary guys on this team, where for me, I'm looking at Wan'Dale Robinson, and yeah, maybe they bring somebody in, but he's still going to be the clear at least wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2 on this team. And he's right now going in the back half of overall 191 wide receiver range. And I understand he's only 23 years old. He was a second round pick out of the University of Kentucky. There's a lot to still like about this Wan'Dale Robinson profile because he is very young, still only 23 years old. And I know I don't like Daniel Jones. I've been a very big Daniel Jones hater, but Wan'Dale Robinson potentially, if they are playing from behind and he could get a ton of garbage time catches, reminds me kind of of the same type of upside that Josh Downs had this year when Josh Downs really started to emerge. I think that's somewhere where with Wan'Dale Robinson, future stud, could really supplant your team. And when you're looking at what he could potentially be going for on the open market, we're talking about some trades here where you're talking Wan'Dale Robinson for a third and a fourth. Give me Wan'Dale Robinson. We're giving Wan'Dale Robinson and Cedric Tillman for the 206. The 206 is pretty valuable in this draft, but given the upside shot of Wan'Dale Robinson, Cedric Tillman, that is an interesting deal. Wan'Dale Robinson for Jacoby Myers. I know Jacoby Myers, everything that he just did this last season was amazing. What's happening with the Raiders QB situation? And like we said, with Wan'Dale Robinson in a start 7, maybe you're trying to rebuild, get a little bit younger. The 311 for Wan'Dale Robinson in a 2-quarterback 12-team start 11. I like these deals a lot. And I think when you're able to take that 311, what's your shot of actually hitting on a Puka Nacua or someone like that? It's super slim. We're talking 1 to 2%. Being able to flip that for a guy like Wan'Dale Robinson, who maybe Wan'Dale Robinson's overall hit rate is only going to be a 20 or 25% shot. Still, that's the type of upside that I want to be taking, getting those higher upside shots onto my dynasty roster, because in the end, that's only going to benefit me in the end. My next dynasty sleeper is going to be Chig Okonkwo, tight end for the Tennessee Titans. And if you guys were a big fan of Chig in his rookie season, he was someone that we looked at as potentially a dynasty sleeper tight end. And while he didn't really take that next step, went from tight end 31 to tight end 26 in his second year, he improved on targets, he improved on receptions. He just did not get the touchdown receptions that we were hoping for a guy like Chig. But Chig is the athletic type tight end, kind of like what we've been hoping with Jelani Woods over in Indianapolis for a while. 6'2", 243, was a 4th-round pick out of the University of Maryland, 4.52, 40-yard dash. And the biggest thing for me is he led tight ends with the tight end 3 in deep targets this last season. So he is getting vertical. He is getting vertical routes. The biggest thing that really hurt Chig last year was he was tight end 2 on drops with 7 overall drafts. Off the line of scrimmage, he's getting a ton of cushion. He definitely has the speed to be relevant in Dynasty Fantasy Football. And the thing is, he's only 24 years old. And we talk about how sometimes you see a Sam Laporta, Trey McBride break out super early in the tight end landscape, but sometimes some of these guys, especially if they don't have the same type of pedigree or they're not really as good, it takes them a little bit more while to get the NFL game under the belts in the tight end spot. So that's why when we look at these guys, really, a lot of these guys don't break out to the age of 25, 26. And Chig right now is 24 years old. And so when we're looking at him on Keep Trade Cut, he's behind K-Dot and he's ahead of my man Greg Dulcich, ahead of Jatavion Sanders, ahead of Noah Fant. I think this is really appropriate value for Chig, and especially if you like a high-end tight end shot, like we're saying, you're in a tight end premium league, he's probably already rostered, but here are some trades that you could potentially get done. We got a 2-quarterback trade where you got Chig and Sam Darnold on one side and Pat Freiermuth on the other. I understand the upside that we potentially think we have with Pat Freiermuth, but give me the Sam Darnold, Chig Okonkwo side. Pretty easy for me. We go down and see a 303 traded for the 402 and Chig Okonkwo. Chig's probably worth the 306, 307. So the fact that you also get the 4th by tearing down, give me the Chig side pretty easily there. We got Sky Moore in the 304 for Chig Okonkwo. Is Sky Moore dead? Real question to be had, but I think if you needed a tight end help, I really like that deal. And then the 302 for Chig Okonkwo, another deal where I'm saying, hey, give me the upside shot on Chig. Especially, it is half PPR to start A, but if you are super desperate at the tight end spot, I definitely think Chig could be worth a stash and could be a future stud on your Dynasty Fantasy Football team. My next guy that I think could be a future stud is going to be Noah Fant. And there's a lot of you out there that have been disrespecting Noah Fant's name. 4.5, 40-yard dash coming out of the University of Iowa, was drafted as a 1st-round pick. The same light that we're talking about some of these elite level tight ends, Noah Fant was being talked about in those same Dynasty lights, but it just hasn't been able to put it together He's 26 years old for Seattle, and we're looking at his highest season up to this point, 10 fantasy points per game back in 2020, 9.9 fantasy points per game in 2021, and it's just gone downhill from here. But if we look at what happened post being traded to the Seattle Seahawks in that Russell Wilson deal, Noah Fant really was splitting the tight end room with Cody Parkinson and also Will Dissly, and it was just upsetting as someone that really believes that Noah Fant is an elite level pass catcher, just for him not to be able to break onto the field. And so that probably should cause a little bit of concern for us, being like, is this ever going to happen? Is he ever actually going to break out? But Noah Fant is still 26 years old. So I really think they gave him the contract extension. They clearly see what he can do in practice. He's just been behind a ton of mouths, whether it's that tight end room, but it's also been Tyler Lockett, JSN, DK Metcalf on the outside. I think this is a time to be buying into Noah Fant, who right now is tight end 25 on keep trade cut, overall 226. Like I said, AJ Dillon, Ty Chandler, Tyler Boyd, A.T. Perry type range. If we're looking at trades that have recently happened with Noah Fant, we got Gabriel Davis for Noah Fant in a third in a 1 quarterback league. If you need to take a bet on a guy like Noah Fant, I like that. Noah Fant in a second for Marvin Mims. Marvin Mims was a face plant. Noah Fant's been a face plant, but you're also getting a future second. So give me that side on the Noah Fant side. You got Noah Fant in the 202 or Chig and Trey Tucker. I know we just talked about my love for Chig, but Chig's only a few spots ahead of Noah Fant in my rankings. So you get the 202 side, definitely pushes the Noah Fant side ahead. Noah Fant's a future stud, and that's in my personal opinion. I have Noah Fant stashed on a ton of rosters. I think he's going to be a future dynasty stud. It's just a matter of being patient. Maybe I'm being patient like I've been patient with Kyle Pitts, and maybe it's never going to pay off, and sometimes you need to learn to cut your losses. But I like some Noah Fant. So if you like Dynasty Fantasy Football, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Appreciate you guys so much for tuning in. We are literally 13 subs away from hitting 2,000 subs before the NFL draft, so I appreciate all the love from the community. We're only going to continue to go out from here. So like I said, if you guys are new here, would love to have you here for however long you play Dynasty Fantasy Football. And if you like this content, hit the like button. It helps me out so much. Here are 2 more videos to check out if you haven't already, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.